Well, hey there, YouTube vlogger heads. Anyone who's watching? No one? It is Monday, April 16th, 2012, and it is 11:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is a wsib related video because someone left a comment and it was on the 25th February 2012 vlog, which I'm surprised anyone watched. Mr. Lee Joe asked, "What about your tribunal, ... And I thought I would give an update. This is an extremely slow process. The latest correspondence I received, it's not actually directed at me, it's just a copy. And it is just it was to my Office of the Worker Advisor who's handling my case. And what it was is that she had requested my file, an updated version. And this is just WSIB, the Appeals Division caseworker, letting her know that they've included the case record with tribunal correspondence to date, WSIB updates, and additional WSIB policy. And that it will be forwarded to the Vice Chair or panel for your hearing. You will hear from the legal worker in due course. And this was dated April 5th, 2012. And I received it the 11th of April. It might have been the day or so before. Who knows? I don't always go downstairs and check my mail every day. This doesn't mean that my tribunal date is any closer, but it does mean that my caseworker has requested the file again. And my next step should be to get my butt down to WSIB and write there. You have to do it in person, write on a piece of paper. And I'm going to request the exact same thing. I'm going to request my entire file up to date with these particulars and see if they'll send them to me as well. Why? Because I still believe I'm going to do a book, whether a underground zine published book experience or, yeah, likely, because I don't know how to approach a publisher and go, hey, can I share this? I don't know. I'll do it one way or another, but I'd like to see if I'll get that stuff, because I haven't received, like, I've received when I've requested my file, I have received reports in it, but I don't know if I get everything. You know, there's a suspicion that I don't, even though the clerks who give out the file aren't actually directly involved with my case at all. So, but I should get down there and get that before I've missed the opportunity to have it, because I have no idea of, once the case is over, if I'm allowed to request my file or not. I would imagine so. I mean, freedom of information, but I don't know. Once it's finally closed, I don't know if I'm allowed the information or not. That's why I should go get it. I am a little spaced out right now. My meds are hitting me hard tonight. I am on anti-anxiety meds, and I can never know when they're going to actually work. As in, where I'm going to feel them take an effect. Sometimes I could eat nothing at all, or, well, that's when you would suspect you'd feel them the most. Other times I'll have eaten enough today, and yet I'm still feeling it. I don't know what's going on. I never get to choose when I get to feel it. I know. Why am I talking about that? I don't know. Oh. Anyway, I know why it might be hitting me too. This is unrelated to the question, but I have had that bleeding issue again that I had for several months when Tall Man was living with me. The last few months, like 5 months, I bled straight, and then it's eventually stopped, and eventually I went to the hospital and went through various testing, and then eventually, I don't know, I eventually ended up with a blood transfusion. And I'm probably close to needing one again. Who knows what is going on. It's a little scary. So it's not just this that I worry about. You know, financially, I can't even tell you how difficult this whole thing has been. I've been really lucky in some ways. In other ways, I won't even tell you how I've managed to keep going. I'm not gonna cry. I can understand completely why so many people did not go the route I did. I was so young. My injury date is 1998, though I was injured in 97, but they pinned it to 98. And I do get a pension, partial pension from that, but I don't get the full amount because of non-compliance when they put me into school, and I hustled my way to get my grade 12 diploma finished with my brilliance, and then they did the insulting, cut me off and put me through job training, and oh gosh, I'm not looking forward to tribunal because I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm at the point, I think I've already said this, where I just want to be. I just want it to be over, a closed chapter in my life. I'm not looking to be saved anymore. I don't have any expectations of justice being done for me. Even if it was, I worry that on some levels it's too late for some things cannot be undone by me or by them. Or by the factory, by the union. All I know is that I've got one hell of a file. I'm going to pause this and show you what my file was before these updates, because what's missing is, of course, the tribunal correspondence from the last tribunal. Although I have a decision, I don't have their notes. And I'll share that. I'll share with you some of what, oh, I'm getting an IM, some of what I've had to go through paperwork-wise. Okay, I'm back. Did you miss me? Okay, I'm not even sure if this is the last one I received, because I've requested my file at least 3 times. But this is what wsib will send you when you go in and you write your request for your file. And since I go back to 98, I like this in particular. No act where they admit they screwed me over. Yeah. But it's like not admissible or something. I don't know why. So there's everything from vocational assessments, the money they sell you over to some disability company when you go into the LMR program. They get paid a good amount to basically be ineffective and push you for their money and then get rid of you. But anyway, it's so funny, wsib just pushes you off. And then there's my original dermatological thing, because my original injury is physical. What we're fighting now is secondary psychological. But there's psychological documentation all along. The trauma reports, my initial reports, they're ridiculous amounts of wasted paper where there are lines of talking to me, which hasn't been much because I don't talk to wsib anymore. But there's that. That's them. This is just part of them because it's not all of it. And this is just one package. Like I said, I've received more than that. I've requested it 3 times, and I'm not even sure if that was the most recent one. I kept my own files as well, which is good because in my own files there's some things missing that they haven't got in their own. Not that it matters because it's not going to play out in the appeals. It doesn't even matter what I do in the appeals. I'm at that point now where I really don't feel that anything I won't win. I can't win. Not in that way. This is just a sheet about allergic contact dermatitis and about your this is funny because not funny, but the work cover victim's diary Twitter thing, the woman got to meet Erin Brockovich, and here was some notes I'd made years ago about well, I watched Erin Brockovich and took all these notes. I trusted you. I don't need pity. I need a paycheck. I'm smart. I'm hardworking. I'll do anything. I'm not leaving here without a job. Yeah. But I quote. I don't know. I wrote various amounts and stuff about the See, the chemical in Erin Brockovich is the same chemical I was exposed to. Like so many of my coworkers. Sorry. I'm getting all overcome. I did a lot. This is my research folder, which is torn and old. And I started this research folder before my claim got going, before I was out of the factory. And I did it. I continued it a little bit afterward, but I eventually stopped. This is more about once sensitized a worker's dermatitis. Begins 24 to 48 hours after contact. And then just goes on to what it can cause. And then there's this list of jobs that you can't go, that have risk. And it's basically everything that you could think of, even things I would love to do. Like photographic processing, which I did for a bit, and I did have outbreak when I worked at the CN Tower for the, look at that, I was really obsessed with the Erin Brockovich thing. Into reading it, I guess I'm really disappointed in how it turned out for many of the families that later on, but, again, more stuff about, you know, the contact dermatitis, but not just that, as supplied by wsib, but my own research. And then something that's very important that workers forget to ask for or to get themselves, which you have all the right in the world to request while you're in the factory or wherever workplace. They're called material safety data sheets. They are supposed to be in some spot that's attainable to every worker. Let's say a first aid room, or that's where ours were. And it's supposed to convert in the processing. I'm not sure for every company if it's applicable, but certainly in a factory setting, I imagine in other settings as well. And basically, it will tell the components and the levels, and it will tell you the hazards, and it will tell you health hazards. Skin sensitivity is something I obviously highlighted because that's what I was dealing with. But I know of coworkers who developed various cancers, and although for various political reasons, I believe, and personal reasons, people did not make a big fuss about it, the high number of cancer rates in the place that was my workplace for 11 years is disturbing and sickening and such. But yeah, aggravation of allergic conditions may occur in some workers. But yeah, all these data sheets were backing up basically what was going on with me. And I have tons of them. They just keep going. I mean, and I have them because I was working and I knew this stuff. I could see it right in their frickin' sheets that I wasn't crazy. It wasn't, you know, some seasonal eczema. It was exactly what it was. When I was away from work, I would not have these issues, and it's stress-related. It did not. I've been stressed for years. I would have the issue right now, but I don't. I certainly would have it right now. Just reading this it's disturbing. So there's all that, and I of course kept all this stuff because, like, not just about my own skin thing. I was curious about my coworkers. I cared about them. That's why I ran as a union rep. I ended up giving it up, but yeah, it's just really disturbing. So yeah, I had all this, and there's no denying my case in that regard. Even though after my last hearing, the woman who was doing that, she disputed whether I'd ever had a skin condition at all, which is sickening because, yes, I did, and my hands were bad, and I was put off work for several months before wsib eventually granted the claim. Am I making sense? Have I lost you? So anyway, I've always said it's important to keep documentation, and I don't deny it anymore. I still think it's important, especially along the way. If you're new at this, you're just starting out with a claim, keep documentation of your own. Not just, like, I'm not showing you my diaries, but I kept diaries as well. Not because of it, but I was always a diary keeper, a journal keeper, and so I kept online and offline diaries, entries which will come into play in my book if I ever do one. But keep your medical files and any correspondence you receive, because separate from their file, you may receive notes that aren't passed along to the company. And if you're smart and you're able to use it, good job. If it's not used, it's unfortunate. But maybe it'll still be of some use for self-validation that you weren't crazy, even if you went crazy. So these are my files now. This is 2011, and it's a joint. Like, it has anything to do with health. And correspondence, not just with wsib, but obviously with government. because, you know, trying to, and it has copies of the assessments. And then here's 2010, and here's 2009, and here's 2008. A big year, because 2007 was when they cut me off, and in 2008, I guess I thought there was a lot of correspondence going back and forth, and I guess I thought that it meant that somehow I was going to end up okay, but it wasn't easy from there. 2007. Where's 2007? Oh, 2007. Same year. The year they cut me off. Appeal of decision to cancel labor market reentry program and the reduction of her earnings to partial LOE benefits. That was awful because they don't give you notice. They give you a letter, but they cut you off right away. And that was horrible. I'm really surprised that oh, you know what? It happened, and here I am, still here. So it was difficult. It was really difficult. My mark in school went so far down. Here was my termination notice from the company that I worked for 11 years, although they were a different name by the end of it. They terminated me when I was actually out on wsib on an LMR program. You can't terminate me. You can't fire somebody out on a wsib claim. I mean, you can end my employment, but to terminate me, I was so upset to read that. I was like, that needs to be changed. That's offensive. And then here's 2006. This is when I was finishing the high school, and I had moved, and I had high hopes for myself. And the home visit where wsib's nurse recommended the secondary psychological condition back in 2006. The one that wsib subsequently denied that I should ever receive. She's the only one that actually met me in person, and she decided that I definitely should have that, but it wasn't her ultimate decision. And then here's 2005. This is the year that I ended up out of the factory. It's also the year that I was stalked by somebody who worked in the factory. And I logged their IP addresses. They were following my journal and getting really creepy, actually. Yeah. Be prepared for that. I guess it's much worse for people now. So many doctor's reports, and I know I didn't get them all. And yeah, so that was that year. And then shortly thereafter, when I had an outbreak, skin outbreak, I was put out of the factory again. But that time I was put into LMR. But still, 2004 was pretty thin. I was really giving it a go. They switched insurance companies. I had a psychiatric impairment assessment. Yeah, just various things, disability from work. 2003, again, the cycle back then was, since my initial injury, when my hands were so bad, And then when I had to go back to work after a year because there was nothing else going, there was no other choice, I ended up with working and then being sick, like going off on leave before my skin would get too bad. And I developed depression and anxiety, and I had hospitalizations, like, you know, Mental Health Act Form 42 is where they put you in the hospital for 72 hours or so. March 6th to, yeah, major depression and stuff. Okay. Yeah, we don't need to see all these, she's been admitted. More psychiatric impairment, suicidal, ouch. Yeah, it's not going to be easy to go through this shit. Sorry. And yet, here I am, still trying to work. Oh, God. I didn't have a lot of choice, so it's nothing better. I was so lost. It's one of those cases where, you know, ignorance would have been bliss if I'd known if I didn't know what was happening to me. 2002. It's also pretty thin. It doesn't mean that I wasn't struggling, but in fact, I even had to, while employed, had to request help. And then 2001. Are you bored yet? Oh, here's one of those interesting letters from work. That was the work at the time. Effective May 9th, 2001, you return to work with the restriction to protect your arms and hands from contact with materials in the workplace. I didn't actually receive any instruction from wsib. This was all relayed to me through HR. As I've been made aware that this is something in your control as per the wsib claims adjudicator. That was really misinformative, because one of the things known about becoming sensitized to a material, especially something like hexavalent chromium, chromium-6, is that any amount of exposure is going to affect you. Gloves, sleeves, or not. Once you're sensitized, it gets into you, and nothing will change that. Anyway, this was a letter just telling me that if I didn't wear the protection, any lost time would be at my expense, and it's a precaution that the company wishes to take to prevent further lost time or injury due to your situation. They were threatening me about lost time as well. In the meantime, my anxiety and neurosis continued, and neurosis stress. They used this against me too, because eventually my doctor stopped writing about the skin, and the reports were often focusing on the mental aspect. And in the last tribunal, that was used against me. The last, not tribunal, but hearing, in the woman's final report, she was like, well, I don't see it mentioned about this throughout all these years. And there's a big reason for that. We'd already established the skin claim. We knew that the skin caused it, and as a result, working in that environment anyway, which I shouldn't be, I developed the mental part of it. And yet, my doctor is not going to write on every single one. And also, I would go off work before I would break out. But she used it as in, I don't see any mention of it for all these years, so you must not have had any breakouts. Meanwhile, in my locker, I had a supply from the factory of knuckle bandages. They were the best ones to use. Knuckle bandages you could wrap around fingers and open palms and sores, and leg patches, and they were the most useful bandages for just putting them on so that I could work. And I had those supplied to me by the factory throughout that whole time, so they were aware that my skin was still an issue, especially if I worked consistently. It's just something that wasn't the main focus. My doctor was just trying to keep me alive, basically, by then. Like, we were dealing with medications, hospitalizations, suicidal ideations. I'm rhyming. And this is the last year that I kept the folder for, 2000, the first year. This is the beginning. And it's such a beginning that right here, our first aid reports, 1997, in particular, to whenever. And this is where I figure, but this is it. This is the history written down. From when yeah, like from, yeah, it's interesting. So I kept some of these. Eventually they stopped filling out the reports for me because they were kind of sick of it, and that's why they gave me bandages, so that I would just bandage myself. And this was the original lost time form, done in 2000. I know. You know why it took so long? Even though the first aid reports go back to 97, 98, they established it 98, as in they figured that's when wsib pinned it down for themselves. The reason why I wasn't out since then is that I was 17 when I started in 95, 16 years old, 17th birthday a month later. There was a lot of naivety, no knowledge, not just on my part, but perhaps on the factory. I mean, I don't want to think of them as completely evil, but clearly wsib didn't do what they were supposed to do. They didn't meet me, and it took a while. Like, I took a loss. I had time off without money, trying to take care of myself, to the point where I went bankrupt at a very young age, when I should have been, when I was doing really well, prior to that. So it took a while, and then, yeah, and then yeah, then there's just some stuff. Yeah. Okay, so these are my files so far. And eventually I will incorporate the files from wsib. But these were my own, separate from wsib, which I have not sorted their file folder into years. They're not exactly in chronological order. And that will be quite a task. It's mentally exhausting. And so where am I at with the tribunal? Should I get back to that question?